Hello, everybody, and welcome to the lost episode of Rift Happens. This is episode 10, and you'll notice I do not have my traditional trophy co-host with me, Ronnie, who is the obviously the good-looking one with the long, luscious locks. I only bring in the bald head and the beard, but we are supplementing today with an equally handsome co-host in Zach, aka Rogue Otters. He's all the way down there at the bottom from Rhode Island. Zach, welcome to Rift Happens, episode 10.
Yeah, we're doubling down on the bald head and luscious beard today, but thankfully Edmund's got some nice hair, so we're balancing it out a little bit.
I'm glad you introduced it for me, and we are joined by caster extraordinaire. You've heard him all through Coach Rival Season 2, casting our games. It is Edmund, a.k.a. Pathfinder, from the state of Texas, Texas state champ, regional champ, and co-coach champ for TAPS. Edmund, welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. You see these luscious hair? Maybe we can be a Keep sponsor in the future.
Yes.
See, this is why I bring you on. Yeah, so I did step up the game. The gentleman below me can't see that my webcam is exclusively streamed into Streamlabs, but I am looking dapper today. I got the tie on. I came straight from work home and just jumped right into this, but I'm just so excited to be able to have these two illustrious co-hosts with me because Ronnie, we just weren't able to line things up. But don't fret, Dancing Ronnie will be back in the future. I'm sure he'll be back for episode 11. But we do have an action-packed, jam-packed, information-packed episode 10, and I don't want to belabor it anymore, but I do want to cover real quick. We will be talking about our memorable moments from CR Season 2. We're going to be covering that at the end. But before that, we do need to cover Coach Rivals Season 2 playoffs, the finals review. So we're going to get into that right now. So to catch everybody up, we had an awesome playoffs bracket. Gentlemen, I do have that on the screen now on stream. Really cool playoffs bracket. Obviously, Zach, you participated in the playoffs bracket too with Death Cat for Cutie, taking out Spawn of Baron, but unfortunately dropping in round number 2 to Team on the Right.
They had a great plan for us, banning out our top laner and just picking Hard Engage into our bot lane and kind of just blitzed us from the get-go and never took their foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, so that was is definitely they had a good game plan going into, as you mentioned. They had to take out Coach Stiff in order to take on you guys in the second round. Hotline Ping took out JGE in the first round to match up with Team Tragedy in round 2. Tragedy took out Hotline Ping. Team on the Right took out Death Cat for Cutie. Sorry, rip, too soon. And then August 5th, we had the finals, the best of 3 finals between Team Tragedy and Team on the Right. And Evan, you had the blessing and the privilege to be able to cast this one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very action-packed 2 games, and it was definitely very close to call. It's only in the very closing stages of the mid-game where we start seeing that Team Tragedy classic team fighting prowess come and take over the game.
Very cool. Well, I'm about to turn it over to all of you as I've got Schmitty J and English teacher both complimenting my dress in the chat. I really appreciate that. This tie was just for you. I didn't wear this for work at all. We're going to move into Champ Select. So you guys both have the Google Slides. I'm going to turn over to you. Let's break down Game 1. I've also got some highlights of Game 1 that I'll show. But before we get into those, just break down this Champ Select, what you see. And when you're ready for me to progress, you just let me know. But I'm so blessed that you guys are here with me. Take it away.
All right. If you don't mind me, Rick, I'm going to start. I think both teams had an amazing ban phase in the Champ Select. Team Tragedy, they know that Will Win is such a monster on an ADC, like Samira, like Ezreal. So they've prioritized really heavy hyper carries such as Vayne alongside the traditional Samira and Ezreal. But then they also ban out Shen and Lulu. And these are 2 champions that give amazing shield to the AD carry. So you can very obviously see the thought process from Team Tragedy going into the bans, and I think it worked out really, really well for them.
Absolutely. So to address the Lulu ban, it's actually a top lane ban, as their top laner, Magis Davis, has been playing, I don't know, pretty much exclusively supports until these games. He had dabbled in some tanks, but looked most comfortable on the Lulu, really dominated some of those matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, sorry, Zach, they ended up, after banning Lulu, they ended up having to pivot to, less traditional supporty top, such as like Ornn. So Ornn can support ADCs by building that mythic item.
Mhm.
But I think, unfortunately, like, his value as a team player wasn't really fully realized during those two finals games, because they weren't really able to capitalize on Ornn having the level advantage to truly utilize that passive the way that Team on the Right definitely wanted to do.
Yeah, we have the benefit of hindsight, but the Shen kind of doubles down as another shield for Will Win, but also the answer to what we saw, which was an incredible split push from the Trundle, right? Shen has the ability to stick in lane and then show up on whatever carry or champion is really low with a giant shield based on missing health. So that actually really, again, we have the benefit of hindsight, so we get to see that. But really, it worked out quite well for Tragedy in their ban phase. And then the other bans are pretty standard. Samira, I know full well how well Will Win is on that champion. And the other two are, again, takeaways from him, just the comfort picks for him.
Yeah, and I think Coach Magros, when he locked in that Trundle pick, especially in game one, he had this amazing ability to pivot from, traditionally playing Scion and, being in the heart of the team fight, tanking everything, to building Hullbreaker and, destroying turrets. I think, if I'm not wrong, that was the first instance of Hullbreaker being built in Coach Rivals.
I'm gonna step in and correct you.
Oh, okay.
Because it was that Decker guy on Fiora. I'm gonna give props. I'm gonna give props where it's due. Like,
Okay.
I told you I was gonna let you ride, but I'm gonna correct in this. Like, so that Decker guy on Fiora, the split push Fiora with Hullbreaker, that he was like unstoppable on that champion. So sorry to interject. So it wasn't the first, but you're right. That was the game plan for Mike. He definitely knew before the game even started that he was going to be building that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he took down the Nexus in the first game by himself. I mean, no one could answer the Trundle.
Yeah, absolutely. It also provided such a great distraction for Team Tragedy to, maybe if we sacrifice the Trundle, we get an objective, and like that objective will overall benefit our late game more than just the Trundle losing, his life, right? So worked out to a treat. Props to Coach Magros for executing it really, really well. And I think I'm just going to discuss the bans for Team on the Right. And I think we have an equally solid thought process here going into the ban phase. Morgana, because Piper Maru, even though, on paper, she might not look to be a very intimidating player, she definitely was on that Lux and on that Morgana, catching out people so many times during both of these games. And I think the Morgana ban was good, but I think the Lux ban could have been equally as good, because we do have the benefit of the hindsight here. I do understand the Morgana ban though, because the Black Shield can make Nocturne Engage so much more oppressive. I think equally the Mordekaiser and Set bans were also really good. The single target isolation for Mordekaiser, especially taking Will Win out of the fight, that was a really good ban. The Set as well, he's a CC bot. His W has a possibility to one shot if you're not careful. And the Kindred ban, because Kindred is just really, really hard to kill as an AD carry with that ultimate, as almost like a second chance at life, unable to be one shot unless they're caught off guard or anything. So I do like Team on the Right's bans, and I can see the thought process that went into their bans. However, leaving up that Lux was a little painful. I think the bot lane was able to utilize that Lux really, really well throughout the games.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the Mord is a top lane or mid lane ban. I'm not sure if maybe that was something they had started practicing. Maybe Justin, you can chime in here. Who is that targeted towards?
I'll chime in. Okay, so Drake did play Mordekaiser one time in one of our matches. I think it was regular season versus Hotline Ping. But one of the things I think Team on the Right was aiming this for, if you go back and look at their ban history after they played your team, after they played Deathcap for Cutie, is when they started banning Mordekaiser every single game because Coach Dubs basically, Team on the Right had a lead in the game versus you guys. And then what was Will Win was playing Varus. The Varus was way ahead. Varus had the advantage. And then basically Coach Dubs just instant ulted Varus every fight. It doesn't matter the game state, doesn't matter where you were at, who was around. Coach Dubs instant ulted Varus as Mordekaiser, took Will Win out of the fight, and then y'all just pretty much cleaned up everything else. So by the time that the Mordekaiser Death Realm was over, he came out and was like, oh, my whole team is dead. Okay, that really sucks. So when we went back and looked at it, they banned Mordekaiser in most of their champ selects, even when Mordekaiser wasn't showing up in match history.
Okay.
I think it's because Will Win, he doesn't want to pay that Mordekaiser tax of absolutely having to buy QSS. It is 1,300 gold. But I think, however, with some teams, with their lack of Mordekaiser experience in their top or mid lane, I think they could have gotten by not banning Mordekaiser here and instead just saying, hey, Will Win, just buy the QSS like early, and then you do you after that Mordekaiser ult gets basically wasted because of the QSS. But it is a little bit unfortunate because I think the Mordekaiser ban could have been the Lux ban, maybe could have even been the Ziggs ban. Shout out to Justin for having a super clean Ziggs these 2 games. But once again, that Mordekaiser ban, even though it is pretty memorable, the way that when they didn't ban Mordekaiser, they managed to lose the game that was on their side for the majority of the game. I think a more adaptability could have been on the plate for Team on the Right prior to going to finals.
Yeah, I do think, like you said, we're playing with hindsight, but it does seem like that's something they may have been able to avoid. While the set and Kindred in the second round set, I mean, we see how effective it is in Drake's hands in the second game too. So I think that's a pretty solid ban. Just getting a more favorable matchup for the Galio, which they were trying to do. And it wasn't the best with Fizz, but Galio doesn't just get hard shoved in by the set over and over again. Can actually at least roam a little bit. Fizz has to take some time to clear the wave.
I think for overall team comp though, while Team Tragedy they ran their their good old team comp with engage heavy, really aggressive jungler in Xin Zhao for Eric 29. Galio, very safe pick for Drake Prime. He can follow up with Eric 29's engage with the Galio ultimate, and of course the classic Lux and Ziggs bot lane. When we see Team Tragedy execute this Lux Ziggs, we see them execute it to such a high degree. So I think Team Tragedy had the benefit of having a team comp that they know it works well and they've had experience on it. They know they can execute on it well. But I think Team on the Right, they opted to go for a team comp where they have a lot of experience in, but some of the champions didn't really mesh together what they were trying to achieve because Bulldog Mentor and Will Win, they work very well as a duo, but Bulldog Mentor doesn't really play any defensive or heal or shield supports, so he has to go on the Leona. And I think it works out in the lane phase, but during the late game where the power of the ADC becomes way more overstated than your engage potential, that's when the Leona pick started having a little like 1 or 2 issues because then the Leona couldn't really peel for the ADC very effectively, and that's what led Will Win to die in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, and I mean the benefit of having a Ziggs Lux bot lane is you can play keep away, right? You can play a screen
around that
away
corner
and
quickly.
still
You
You can't see
put
around
up
that corner.
quite
This
a
is
bit
gonna be
of
so
damage.
weird. Oh my god, there's gonna be an engage on the
Despite
horn. The Lux binding hits and first blood
amount of
goes
hard
to
engage
Piper
that they
Maru.
do
Really
have,
nice.
someone
He
still
opts
also
for a
has to
gank
enter
to
the
the mid lane.
split
The
trundle.
knockup lands.
As
Both
you're
mid
watching
laners
some
flash
of
at exactly the same
highlights from
time.
the game,
Will Eric 29 have enough
I do want to
damage? I
actually talk
don't
about
think
that,
so.
that
It looks
first
like
blood.
Bullet
Don't
Game.
ever, if you're a top laner, don't stand in that
I didn't even see that
As you
happening.
can see, you
Bulldog
can't see
Mentor
coming
gets
around.
that root
It's
off
such
onto
a
Drake
big,
time, kills him. Will they
and
have
it'll get you
enough
killed
to
so
kill
many
Eric
times.
Teach?
But
He doesn't
yeah,
know
I
he's
just-
on a ward.
I
There's
think
gonna be an engage onto Cannon
ultimately,
Teach. Stun comes up, but will he have enough tankiness to
the
survive?
team comps
The knockup comes in and
pretty
Eric
even. I
29
think
very
each
clean
had
kill
their own
onto Cannon
identity.
Teach.
As you said, they were both kind of on
There it
comfort
is, right?
picks,
Eric 29
and it just
hasn't
comes
gone
down to a
back
matter of who
and
can
has spawned
execute.
bot side.
Cannon
If
Teach, he is level
Born
5. He
gets
does have the
ahead
level
in
league on
lane,
Eric
if, you know,
29.
if
It's
there
gonna
is
be
somebody who can enter
Galio
the jungle,
ultimate to
maybe
try
we
to
see
save
something
his
different
jungler.
when they're
The Galio ultimate
getting
is
hard
so good.
engaged on.
Gets
And all
the
the
Those
kill.
Galio
He
ults
dashes
are
ahead.
not as effective.
Ooh,
The Shinjab
Cannon
melts,
Teach is on the
etc.,
bot lane.
but
Drake Prime is getting
because they
solo
were able to
kills by
stay
Bullet
pretty
Games.
even, they
Faker,
skirmished
Faker,
a lot,
Playmaker.
which
Right, or
you know,
is
they had a
looking
lot
to
of
here.
strength in
Never mind.
that early on.
Ooh, we see
To
that
be honest,
Bully
both
Oh
teams
my god, Bulldog
had
Mentor!
pretty good
He gets
skirmishing
rooted
teams,
under the turret without any
but it did
minions under
benefit,
it. It's gonna be Cannon
Tragedy to
Teach
be
who
keeping
pulls in, but will win
up
tanks.
with the
He's gonna use
gold.
that heal. It's gonna be
in
a
order to
double
get
kill.
the
Be able to collapse
I
on that
think one of the
dragon
more
right
memorable
away.
moments
But
from
instead,
these
I
two
think-
finals games
Ooh,
was
small ulti coming down.
team on the right. They managed to
on the
secure
mid lane. Oh my god,
like,
Piper Maru
vision
gets
control
will
over
win.
the Drake
It's
pit
gonna be a 1-for-1. I
before
think it
Team
was
Tragedy
Nishama.
could come in.
Piper Maru
But then
still
you
at
see
full
that,
health. Bulldog
you know,
Mentor trying to
the
run away.
Ziggs bombs
But
and the
after
Lux
Eric
Qs
29
come
gets spotted
over the Drake
ASAP,
pit
Will Win
and
uses
onto the
ult to
river
get
and
out
onto
of there.
like
He
the
sees
surrounding
Eric
area.
29
And
is
Team
so dang
Tragedy,
scary, but
they
he
just
tries
took
to go
away
for a
half
turn.
team,
Eric
the
29
team
gets
on the
stunned
right's
up, but
life
it is
bar
gonna
with that, poke, and I just remember being so amazed at like this power of Ziggs. I can remember thinking like, nerf this champion, man. He just took away half of Team on the Right's life, and ultimately they had to give up the Drake as a result, and that's such a huge contributor to Team Tragedy's late game oppressiveness with that objective control.
Yeah, I mean, we're even seeing it in the pros right now, right? Like, you can literally leave Ziggs in the bot lane from minute 5, and he's fine. He'll farm. He can 1v2 for, the next 10, 15 minutes and be absolutely self-sufficient. So yes, I do think they should nerf him because I think it's pretty crazy that he can take towers even from, and farm safely from a deficit like that.
Are y'all calling me a filthy Ziggs abuser?
Hey, we were too. I can't say that we didn't take advantage of what was there.
No, I should have said like Team on the Right. You should have just banned Ziggs, man. Like this little Yordle. He's very small, but he packs quite a punch.
The biggest, I think, you touched on it. I'm not going to necessarily talk about the games themselves, but Ziggs is one of those champions that you don't have to play Ziggs well as far as like damage. You don't have to be a carry on Ziggs. You just have to wave clear, and then when you get the opportunities, you demolish towers. You can sit in the back and just rain damage down. Obviously, he's countered hard by a lot of dive, because if you dive on him, he's really squishy and he's going to die. But it really comes down to kind of abusing some of those elements of his kit. You're not going to be a really flashy carry, and that's really busted right now with ADC, because you can, or playing him in the bot lane, because you can just sit back and just perma push, and once you get that lost chapter, there's really nothing to stop you.
Yeah, it's really strong.
I think regarding those dive comps, I think Volibear came quite a lot bot lane during game 1, trying to use that ultimate to dive over and over again. But then I think the execution was a little bit off by Team on the Right during those dives. They had a good initial engage using the Volibear ultimate to disrupt the turret, but then Bulldog Mentor should have gotten out a couple of times before he was targeted any time further, so that he didn't have to give his life. But it was a good concept, using that Volibear to try to set the Ziggs back. But ultimately, just like you said, after 5 minutes, Ziggs becomes a lean, mean power farming machine, and Nishama was able to stay super relevant, alongside the Lucian, who, even though he had a CS lead, I think Justin might have been pretty close to the Lucian's damage output, which I think can only be attributed to Liandry's. So, Liandry salesman, yes I am. Is there anything else you need to talk about in game 1? I think it was just clean by
Yeah.
Team Majesty.
I mean, as we're seeing here, ultimately the skirmishes came down to Team Tragedy were able to pick up the Earthdrake after they stole one of them, and then I guess they, like you said, they poked them off some of the other ones. That Lux steal was pretty awesome to see from Piper. But yeah, I mean, as this ended up, you can see here, this ended up being the bait, right? You guys fought over the Elder Drake while Trundle was literally ending the game, which is pretty awesome. That's how you drew it up, right?
Yeah, I mean I said I would stay out, but if you're asking for insider info, that's 100% how we drew it up. Is Mike was committed to split pushing, and that's what Mike did. Mike he knew his role, he committed to his role, and he performed his role. So the Trundle was definitely, he was a split push machine, and as you can see the stats from the game, it's funny too, because Tyler Bullet Games was live streaming on Twitch our matches, and I didn't know until after the fact. But I went back and watched it and was able to listen to it. And there are a couple times where they do talk about Coach Magros, and you're like, well, he's got 0% kill participation. Like, this guy's he's not doing anything. All he does is split push. I'm like, yes, yes, Mike, keep going.
Yeah,
Hashtag planned.
As I specifically feel bad for Bullet Games. As you see in the last one, he's doing everything in his power and literally did maybe 200 HP worth of damage. Maybe? That's rough. Like, that's not what you want out of your assassin. Especially trying to stop them ending the game.
I think Piper Maru steal, very key to give them the objective, but I think it kind of nailed the coffin for a team on the right because of that mental damage. I think this is like an aspect of the game kind of rarely talked about, but it's so important because I think you see right after Piper Maru stole it, right? And I think when she performed the steal, she even stole it from Eric29, which is even more surprising. I can imagine all the Pog champs going up in Team Tragesty's voice comms, and Team on the right just like, that clip from Family Guy when he falls over and he starts clutching his knee. Like, that's what I think Team on the right must have been experiencing in that one moment.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
All right, well, we've got the stats from game one up, and I'll kind of join you in here, but so everything basically. Everything kind of went what we expected. Bullet Games will win, holding their own, doing really well with CS. Magistav, I shout him out every single time that we have some sort of podcast where they're featured, that he has adapted to that top lane role, coming from support, bringing those supportive champs, and then learning Shen, learning Ornn. So obviously getting better and better throughout the season, which is really cool. Can teach. He is the bear. We've seen that in the Discord. He definitely is the bear. Definitely a power threat there. And then Bulldog Mentor, huge. We actually Danielle or Piper Maru she told us before the game they like to dive bot lane. They'll bring Cannon Teach bot. They use the Volibear and they ult bot lane. And she's like, watch for that. And then sure enough, here comes Connor on the Volibear. And Kate like flash E ulted, and it was so quick that Bulldog Mentor is able to do that on the Leona. It really caught me off guard. And it's super, super impressive. It's just amazing to see the growth that these players are having, especially from the players that are lower ranked, because the rank disparities are so large in this league. But to see the lower ranked players that not only are lower ranked, but also adapting to a brand new role, falling into an organized team comp and trying to execute on that, it's been very impressive. It's been really cool seeing that throughout the season.
The one question I have for Majesty is, why did you never pull out the Karma? Right? I feel like that's the next step because they did an incredible job on the Lulu top lane, like getting kills when they're really like you have no business getting kills as a Lulu top, right? You're farming and you're there to buff up your whatever hyper carry, whether it's the jungler or the ADC. But Karma is like the next, available one that if you can't get the Lulu, that can be your go-to. So it's interesting that they went, to the tanks, and I love the Shen. Shen is awesome. It's super fun to play as a support too, but it's interesting they went with the Ornn instead of going towards a Karma or another enchanter.
Yeah, and I think on that same note, I kind of wanted Will Win to pull out a more traditional hyper carry, maybe Jinx, or maybe someone who can do percent health damage. Kog'Maw comes to mind, but he is pretty weak to engages. So Kai'Sa, I think Lucian, you get a lot of his power from the early game, and you get his power from his like base damages as well as his passive, but Lucian doesn't have the best scaling, like i.e. he has to get way ahead for him to still stay oppressive in the late game compared to Ziggs, which has Liandry's, which is an automatic 50% extra damage on his kit. And I think Will Win also during the later team fights, especially for the one for Drake's, he had trouble dishing enough damage to the front line because Eric29, he had sustain and he had the Gore Drinker. He had Drake Prime to come back him up if he was engaging a little bit too heavily. So I think a lot of Will Win's potential damage got negated by the fact of by Eric29 and Drake Prime. While Justin, all he had to do was like throw in a Q, like hit Ornn and Voli, and that's like a quarter health. And I could feel their Ornn and Voli's despair because I've been in that situation many times. So I think Will Win. I'm hoping you're going to be in Coach Rivals for the next season. I want to see you on a hyper carry, my dude, and I want to see you maybe on my team. Question mark? Maybe it's too early, right? But at least if he's not on my team, you can solo duo queue with me. Pathfinder. That's my name.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to transition into game 2. Team Tragedy did take game 1 at 31-10. Not a fast game, right? We had seen some earlier games in Coach Rivals that ended around 24 minutes, so it just shows the tenacity that even though Team on the Right did end up falling in that match, there was a lot. They were in it. I mean, it drugged the game out. But I do think that goes on to kind of the point that you're making, Edmund, about the Lucian. Lucian does fall off. Like Lucian's a lane bully, and if you don't get snowballing ahead early, it can really fall off. So looking towards game 2, here are the game 2 bans and picks. Did have the Mordekaiser ban came back out again. We mentioned it in game 1. The Morgana as well, but you do see the pivot from Team on the Right banning the Trundle because of that split push being so powerful. But that did mean that Team on the Right was going to leave up the the Nocturne, right? So the Nocturne was the game 1 ban, so they pivoted away from the Nocturne to get rid of the Trundle because of the Trundle being such that big split push threat, whereas Team Tragedy pretty much kept the same, right? The Lulu, the Shen, and then the Samira from there. So really not much difference from the ban phase. And then as we get into the picks, really it's still kind of more of the same until you hit that second pick phase.
So I think I talked to you about Justin about this Veigar ban from Team Tragedy, and you were I think this was in reference to an earlier game where Piper Maru was playing Rakan. I could be wrong, but you were saying, "Oh my God, Veigar Cage is so oppressive. When he throws it down, literally none of us can move, and this is why we had to ban out Veigar." It's pretty nice ban, but I don't know why Team on the Right couldn't capitalize further on the bans. I think maybe they could have also pivoted their jungle instead of going for the bear. They might have gone for Rammus because I'm pretty sure Cannon Teach also plays Rammus, and he doesn't have the same full dive potential as Volibear, but he's definitely way tankier, and it's gonna be way more trouble for Coach Magros, who's on Mundo, to split push, and it's going to be really oppressive for Eric29 and Drake Prime because Rammus also curbs healing, and that's going to be a bane for Red Kane. It's also going to be a bane for a set who goes Gore Drinker. So I think that's one thing a team on the right could have done. Maybe draft jungle a little bit differently. But I can also understand because Cannon Teach, she's such a beast on the bear, just like Trick 2G. So, benefit of hindsight. But I kind of would like to, see what went through their minds when they picked this Foley Bear again.
Yeah, and I unfortunately I hate to harp on it, but I don't love the Kali pick either. I just don't see how she navigates these fights. There's not a whole lot of opportunity for her to get. So, unless Lux and Ziggs totally miss position, Set's going to be able to alter out of the fight pretty much every time. And yeah, it's kind of tough for her to sort of have any agency in those team fights. Lane phase, same thing. Like, I guess they got counterpicked, so they didn't see the set come out. But it's definitely a tough matchup there. And then conversely, going from the Trundle to the Mundo, Mundo's not my favorite. I think there's definitely a lot of weaknesses before, even at level 6. But before that, he's kind of just a caster minion with his cleaver. To be honest, he kind of just farms. And even with his new passive, he actually is relatively easy to dive. You just have to waste an ability on the first, shield that thing that he gets, and then he kind of just keels over. But yeah, I don't know. It's just not my favorite pick. I sort of, I don't know. If you're going for the split, it's kind of tough to navigate with that. Or if you're going for the team fight, I think there are tanks that do a little more than he does at the moment. But again, that's comfort for them.
Yeah, and I think picking Tahm Kench into the Mundo, Tahm Kench is pretty strong in the top lane right now, but I think we can kind of see Majestave in this game too. He was having a little bit trouble farming with the Trundle. With the Tahm Kench. He had better execution in the team fights, but you see that CS difference, over 100 CS difference. It's also maybe because Coach Magros is, calculator with hitting all the CS, but I think it's also Majestave had that little bit of trouble in lane, and it kind of showed because in the late game he didn't have as much tankiness when compared to Coach Magros because of the CS deficit. Even though he was 4 kills up, it didn't really make up for the gold and the XP deficit. And I think on paper the Tahm Kench and Akali picks looked good because they are good picks. They can be vacuum answers to the team comp that Team Tragedy was trying to draft. But, the second that team on the right didn't ban Set just comes out, and, you can see the dismay in Akali's eyes when Set comes out, especially mid lane, because, you're like, okay, I'm Akali. I'm just going to Q Set like once or twice, and then boom, instant stun, instant enhanced auto attacks from the Q, and that's half your life. So I think also props to Drake Prime because he used that set to a really great success against Bullet Games. But once again, the feeling or the generic nature or theme of the comp from Team of the Right, it's kind of the same with game 1. I kind of wanted them to go more supporty champions. You mentioned the Karma earlier, and that's a great point. I think Majestave on Karma would have been incredibly interesting to see. But I think it's also they had a little bit of issue with Bullet Games because Bullet Games he traditionally plays mid lane assassins like LeBlanc, Fizz, and Akali, and they are very good vacuum answers in certain comps and in solo queue. But I think that set was just so much more reliable. And if I don't know if Bullet Games plays a Azir or any constant DPS mid laner, but I think they could have had way more reliable magic damage if Bullet Games went like someone who could build Liandry's.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was gonna say, as you see the highlights again, if Piper ever gets Lux in a Coach Rivals match again, I will be shocked. Those bindings were absolutely impressive. The one to set up the double kill early on in the game for Drake, I mean that's set him so far ahead in lane, and basically let him do whatever he wants from then on.
Yeah, we actually wanted we had planned on picking the Tom Kench, and then Magistave stole it from us. We weren't expecting him to pick the Kench, so that gives you a little bit of insight there. And then Drake kind of defaulted over to the set because Eric really likes when Drake plays set. Drake, the self-proclaimed sexiest mid laner in Coach Rivals, he loves to play. He loves playing set. So anytime he can get his hands on it, we like when he gets his hands on it too. So the Tom Kench is really cool, and I like that you mentioned the Akali and like sustained magic damage, because that's something I try to work with the students when we have a high school team, is that making sure that we have some sort of sustained damage threat. So if you're running Jhin is not enough sustained damage. Like, you need to supplement it with something like an Azir, a Ryze, a Cassiopeia, something that's going to constantly output damage and not have either that reload phase or that burst damage phase. So, like, the Ezreal is burst damage. The Ezreal with the WQ combo does a ton of damage, and you'll see here in one of these highlights that are coming up, he, just kind of one-shots Piper Maru on the Lux. She doesn't expect it. He E's over the wall, EWQ, and she's dead. That on top of with the Sheen, he just does so much. But that's burst damage. That's not sustained damage, and
Right.
I think that's something that is really easily kind of overlooked. It's not something that's done in a lot of team comps.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, early on in the top lane, I think Magistave managed to solo kill a Coach Magros using that Tom Kench ultimate. Magistave, if you're listening, that was just a crispy solo bolo. Coach Magros, he tried to flash out of it, but Magistave, just like TI-84, cues right at the spot where Coach Magros flashed to, and oh, what a clean solo kill. I had fun casting that. And I think ultimately the early game was pretty good for both teams. It's just that Drake Prime, he was able to rotate much faster than the Akali into a couple of skirmishes, especially one where there was a skirmish between Canon Teach and Eric29, and they were just throwing spells at each other, and then here comes Set, and then he does his WWE like wrestling move, and it's GG's for Canon Teach. So really props to Drake Prime using the Set to great effect, both in lane and out of lane. So I think that's what mid laners in Coach Rivals in the future have to keep in mind. Not only, like Justin said, you should have constant damage threat, you should also have the vision control and map awareness to rotate frequently, especially to support someone like Eric29, very signature player who goes for a really aggressive plays.
As he said in chat, there's no such thing as engaging too heavily. Yep. I think that speaks to his character to a T. Or play style, maybe I should say. Maybe not character. I think it's interesting to see also how many of these objectives were stolen away. There's at least 3 that I can think of. 3, maybe 2. A dragon and a baron that were stolen away. And that to me, I guess that was not stolen, but I think it speaks to how fast-paced these games were and how much pressure there were on both junglers to be saving their smites. I think you even called it out. They had taken Baron and then were rotating down to Drake, and the reason that it was stolen is because that he had smited on the Baron and didn't have it up for the Drake attempt, and they were able to steal it over the wall. So just a fantastic way to end the season, I would say. The games were very spicy.
And I think there was another highlight play, another 1v1 Drake Prime versus Bullet Games, when the Akali tried to get that set under the tower. And again, another heartbreak for Bullet Games because he autoed the turret
They just showed it.
once.
Yep.
He autoed it once, and I think it was also like an empowered auto attack, and all of the casters were like, no, you would have been like Faker, Bullet Games. That looks so good. And then until he autoed the turret. But again, Bullet Games, so close to solo killing the set under turret. Power of Akali, and I think he tried to use it to effect because Akali as a solo laner, it has potential to solo kill a lot of mid laners. I think even into a hard matchup such as Set. But what a heartbreak that was. I
Words
still
can't
feel
describe.
despair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can tell. It definitely affected you greatly.
Yeah. And that's coming from a Set player too. So yeah.
We had a similar ending to what happened in game one. Game one was the Elder Drake. We had a big fight at Elder, and then we peeled off of Tragedy peeled off of Elder and just went for the Nexus. And then here it was the big fight near bot side red buff, kind of near that Drake. They were Team on the right was setting up for Drake. Tragedy was there to try to answer. We had this big skirmish, and then that fight ends, and all of a sudden we just go for the base and end. So it was kind of one of those sudden things where it's just like all of a sudden we have this game and it's neck and neck and we're competing, and then all of a sudden like, oh, it's over. That's it. So, but this one was only I guess 40 seconds shy of what game one was, so it's still over 30 minutes. So it definitely was a banger. You got a lot of League of Legends action, but we can see the stats on the screen now. And Coach Magros, the legendary 3 assists, not a single kill to his name, and there were over 20 kills on the side of Team Tragedy, and Coach Magros only participated in 3 of them. So he was just bonking his head away in that top lane to try to bring the win over in Team Tragedy's favor.
Yep.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it looked like it ended actually pretty similar to your match against I Am Immortals, where they thought they had picked the Kayn off in the jungle, and Eric was able to stay alive for the cavalry to get there and clean up the fight, and then you guys took the win.
I think it was unfortunate that Wilwyn didn't have the time or the CS needed to complete what's that item called, Cyrilda's Grudge. That would have made him much spicier as an ADC, especially into like Coach Magros and Eric29 and Drake Prime, all 3 bulky bruisers and tanks who Ezreal can't really defeat without that item. So I think they needed like 2 or 3 more team fight either wins or like even team fights before Wilwyn would have reached the stage where you see him like 1v9 completely on Ezreal late game. So again, benefit of hindsight, didn't happen, could have happened, but didn't. So Wilwyn, that's going to be for Coach Rival Season 3.
Yeah, so Season 2 champions were Team Tragedy. We'll throw them up there. So Coach Magros in the top lane, Eric29 in the jungle, Drake Prime mid, SHC Nashama in the bot lane, and Piper Maru at support. So congratulations to them. And they will hold the title until Season 3 starts. So be sure to pester Cooper or MG Flory when that's going to begin, so we can get another set of champions in. Before we get into our listener feedback section, we do want to shout out to our program partners here at Skulls.com. Be sure to check them out. They offer teams a range of print-on-demand products like jerseys, shirts, and other gear, available in 10 days or less. You can see their logo there in our overlay. They also offer full custom designs and a dedicated shop where teams can receive a portion of sales to help fund their programs. Again, check them out at Skulls.com. And I have seen some posts in the Coach Rivals Discord where some coaches have already gone through Skulls and gotten their drafts back, and super pleased, really excited with them. So be sure to check that out and just get some customer testimonials from them. Also want to shout out Gloop Academy. I actually just spoke with Gavin this past week over at Gloop, so excited to network with them a little bit. If you haven't seen Gloop yet, they've created an online esports training platform that enables all gamers of any age to improve their core cognitive and physical skills that are found in gaming. They worked closely with top gamers and neuroscientists to identify the 5 most important skills that are required to succeed in gaming, and with those skills in mind, they've developed training games on their website with a highly intelligent dashboard designed to enhance performance and track skill development. I do want to pitch that all of these are browser-based, which is huge. My school district is a 1-to-1 district, and we use all Chromebooks, and so students could theoretically, in the middle of class, be enhancing their esports skills on their Chromebooks. They don't even have to have a gaming PC or laptop. It could be right there, browser-based, working on that. So really, really cool stuff. Shout out to Group. Be sure to check them out, group.com. They have a new feature for teams, so you can bring all of your students in, add a team, and you can track your team's performance and compare them against each other. So really, really cool stuff. All right, gentlemen, moving on to our memorable moments. This is our last segment of the night. Memorable moments from Coach Rivals Season 2. Let's start off with our memorable moments. We're going to let Zach take the lead first before we dive into some of our listeners. So now these could be anything, right? I pitched it to these could be sportsmanship. It could be like this really impressive play that was done, or anything that was behind the scenes, because as players in Coach Rivals, we saw a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And for anybody that only participated in competitive may be unaware, we had a learning league going on as well. So we had 2 different leagues going on concurrently, right? And so a lot of action happened over the summer. So we wanted to collect some things to see, what are you going to take with you moving forward that you'll never forget. So Zach, go ahead and hit us first. What do you remember? What are you going to remember the most from CR Season 2?
So I do have an individual one, but I do want to shout out the Learning League team that I was helping out, sort of coaching, doing some VOD reviews. They put in so much work. They honestly worked their tails off and improved so much from like game 1 to making the finals, and holding their own. I could not have been more impressed with Brad, with Dave, and a couple of the other folks there who just, like I said, they organized everything. That was really, really cool to see, and it was pretty awesome being part of. I'm gonna dub it Season 0 for the Learning League, because it was super fun, and I think we learned a lot, and I can't wait to see where we sort of take it. But my favorite moment from this season was our regular season game against MG Flory's team. They had gone.
Baron.
Yes, thank you, Spawn Baron. 4 tanks and a Caitlyn, and had put us down like, I don't know, a couple thousand gold early in the game, dove us a bunch. We had like 0 traction. And then, Coach Dubs in the top lane with Darius comes out swinging, and the like sort of cherry on the top is the last team fight we have gets down to like the last person, and all of a sudden we hear Peter go, or our ADC go, "Oh shoot, I'm disconnected," and his character is still auto attacking the Malphite, and ends up getting a triple kill from that, because he had left on the auto attack setting in the game, which I have turned off because it, as a support, I'm not supposed to be autoing things. But obviously that was a pretty cool moment to see him like, yeah, hands off the keyboard. Look at me now, mom.
I've got to go back and watch that VOD now.
Yeah, it's pretty, like, he's just standing still and autoing. That's all that is happening. It's great. Like, if you didn't know that he had disconnected, you wouldn't be able to tell that. It was pretty funny.
So are you saying like the role of ADC is brainless and they don't have
I would
AD,
never say that
ADC
as
players?
support.
Yeah, bot lane players don't have to use their hands. That's what I'm hearing.
Pretty much.
Evan, what you
From
got?
the looks of things. Yeah, I was about to say, from the looks of things, they don't even need an internet connection. But
Yeah, exactly.
so we have a submission here by Piper Maru out of Kentucky. This is a support player for Team Tragedy, and she shares with us her memorable moment from CR Season 2, which is her Baron steal. And she also says, but the fact that it was my second objective steal in the finals, ouch, for a team on the right. Best of 3 made it a little sweeter, and I had a great group of coaches to play with. Getting to play with and learn from them will be memorable for me. So thank you very much, Piper Maru, for your memorable moment from CR Season 2.
Yeah, those were incredible. Absolutely. Her Lux gameplay, that whole match was insane.
Yeah, again, she outsmited her own jungler twice. like how?
Eric 29's boosted.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
You heard it here first. I'll take the next one. Actually, Edmund, what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment from CR season 2 was, I think, Coach Magros's Scion play, where it was just right outside of Drake Pit. He had an ultimate into 3 people, immediately followed up with the Q, like max rank, full 2-second stun on those 3 people, and like they just couldn't move for like 4 straight seconds. Like you had to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they couldn't move, but then at that point they were dead. So Coach Magros, shout out to you with your Baus FFS cosplay. I would not be surprised at all if he told us that he was actually an EU West Challenger player right now. So props to him for that play.
Awesome.
Or them, sorry.
All right, so our next listener submission came from Mr. Robbie Hernandez out of Texas. His most memorable moment from CR Season 2 was the entire thing. He says, but for real, the Rift Happens podcast was a huge highlight of the week. Made the season content so much more robust. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with Ronnie, who's not here, so it's kind of weird that he's complimenting Rift Happens, but we're missing probably the best part of Rift Happens, which is Ronnie.
If I may add to that, Robbie, are you sure your most memorable moment is not the picture you submitted to us last week, or for last Coach Rival? Wait, for last Rift Happens. Yeah, my brain was AFK.
That champion, if anybody doesn't remember, the champion title was generic female champion with gun, I think is what it was. I don't think it was. I think there was no solid answer for who it was.
I think Robbie is trying to get us demonetized without, even without us even making money in the first place.
Hey,
he's already killing the prospect.
While we're on the topic, I will say the OG MS Paint guy is with us here. Zach was the OG MS Paint Champ Select Pro Draft guide. He was the inspiration for that segment. So I did all credit where credit is due. Straight to Rogue Otters for constantly MS painting on the Pro Draft screens and posting them and making little corrections. That was the inspiration.
It's funny because that started. I was playing on a gold team last summer, and we had to do that constantly because the pick ban phase was always getting messed up, and so it was just, I don't know, wheelhouse for me to jump right in and be like, oh yeah, I'll fix this. But then it got fun. Everyone kind of took note of that, and yeah, I thought that was a great segment. It was hysterical.
So while we're on it, there's another Pro Draft tool, or there's another drafting tool. Are y'all aware of any others that we can take it? Because I think Drake told us about one. Maybe there's another team that we were playing with that uses a different tool. Because Pro Draft does have some issues.
I think there was pickban.gg, but I really don't know if their API is very good. I think I've seen LS, the YouTuber and Liandry salesman extraordinaire, use pickban, but I can't vouch for how good it is right now.
All right, we'll let our listeners kind of pitch in and give us feedback on that. We're in, I think we may be in the market. I don't know. I don't run this league. I'm just saying. I think we've had enough issues with them that it may be worth looking a different route for another drafting tool.
Are you saying that I need to stop? You're basically taking away my livelihood, Justin.
Okay, well, I'll take it back.
Because if you go somewhere else, then I can't do the painting. Come on, man.
All right. New idea. We submit to you what our champ selects were, and then you draw out champ select.
Do it. I'm down. Next year's finals, I'll do it. I will MS paint the entire champ pick and ban. I'm down.
I'm for it, man. I don't think there's any better solution.
I love it.
All right. Submission number 3. This is another submission from Robbie out of Texas. So he submitted twice. I like it. He said, in game 1, Jeremy, a smooth criminal, outplayed the gank and just hit the unlock button for the season. So for further context, this was when a smooth criminal was on Ahri. And I think Saikaze was on Lee Sin. and he got hit with the Lee syndrome, which is, and I've said it before, his mind was telling him no, but his body was telling him yes. And he took Q2 under tower, but Jeremy hit the charm under tower, and just so Lee Sin is just slowly walking towards the Ahri and dies to tower. And that was I think that was first blood of Coach Rivals. I think that was the very first kill of Coach Rivals season 2.
Wow.
That's
I think-
heartbreaking.
I think if Riot wants to do April Fools next year, they should just make Lee Sin's Q unstoppable, so like he just can't get interrupted during the animation of his Q, so that Jeremy can't do the Lee Sin right like that under turret. But also, Robbie, both of your submissions, you put "What state do you live in?" Texas sad face. Like, what's the shade with my state, Robbie? And he put it 2 different ways too.
It did. There was like the vomiting face and then just the straight sad face, I think. Oh, man. All right. Next entry is from Schmitty J out of Colorado, who recently posted some pickle beer in in Happy Boy. I think he caught some flame for that. But Schmitty J posted, I just want to shout out the subs in the Learning League. We sometimes called upon them with a game starting in 5 minutes and said, you can play ADC, right? Oh, well, you'll be fine. He said, I'd like to shout them all out by name, but I'm afraid I would forget someone. So, yeah, Zach already shouted out Learning League. We did have that concurrent league, and Schmitty J giving shouts out to them as well.
I'll pump it up again. Like, if you are new to the scene, have never played, or really feel lost, like, join the Learning League. They're awesome people. They are all where you were. And we've had some people start like from nothing, basically, with really bad. I'm going to use Dave as an example, but like from where he started with really bad internet to now, like, queuing up, probably going to hit silver soon. Like, it's pretty cool to see the growth that a lot of those players have made.
Yeah, I had the privilege to cast the Learning League finals, and let me tell you, that game was just as spicy as a normal Coach Rivals game. All those tense, seconds in the team fight. So, absolutely, I love casting Learning League. Would absolutely do so in the future. Maybe even start streaming some Learning League games. Like, who knows?
Yeah, and I did hear. Listen. I hear a lot of things, and I don't know how much I can divulge. But I heard whispers of some Learning League stuff for next year, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's juicy that I've heard, overheard in some normal draft queue games with some players that will remain nameless until they decide to reveal that stuff. So it makes me excited for Learning League. It's got a positive future, I will say that. And I think it's going to go in a really cool direction moving forward. So yeah, anybody that's brand new to the game, and coach, because learning the game that your students play is really important. And what I usually tell coaches, brand new coaches, is you're not going to out micro your students. You're never going to be mechanically better than they are. I say never, but in most cases you're not going to be, because the older you get, the more those skills kind of fall off. But learning the game at a macro sense and how to work the map and just learning team compositions and learning what all the champions do, it really does give you a leg up, and you become a vital member of that team. Obviously, you're already the coach, but you teach them more than just soft skills. Then now you're actually coaching the game. And I think the Learning League is a great place for you to develop those skills before you take it back to the school year for next year. So I would love to see like coaches develop from season to season, like regular school year seasons, like finish the 2020-2021 school year at this level, participating Learning League, and then their 2021-2022 game just completely excels. They take their team to the whole next level, and they feel more fulfilled as a coach. And I think there's a lot of possibilities there for that.
Hey, I think you just figured out what episode 11 is going to be about.
Oh,
I think you need to do a State of the Union, and the Union being Coach Rivals episode, kind of just talking about maybe upcoming events and plans and all that jazz. That might be pretty nice for the folks at home.
Are you saying that you want an invite back?
I wouldn't be too mad about a little message from you.
Well, we do have some other stuff going on, and we need to wrap our stream up to your time. We will, because we do have like our in-house nights happening. That's actually starting tonight. We have TFT going on tonight. So we're going to end before that starts. That doesn't start at 2 p.m. As the emote in the Discord says. That's going to be at 8:30 Eastern, I believe. So here in about 27 minutes, we'll finish before that. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. And we'll spitball that a little bit. Perfect. Next submission was from Eric29. Eric Too Heavily 29 out of the state of Mississippi. His memorable moments from Coach Rivals Season 2 will be Drake's Yasuo solo kill. I think there's some shade being thrown there. The Lux Baron Dragonsteel, the multiple Scion 3-man ults, and the Sivir versus Fiora 1v1 to save the game. So all of his highlights are, obviously Eric 29 was on Team Tragedy. He's shouting out all of his Team Tragedy team members there. So good on him.
You see, funny he shouted out Piper Maru, who stole the dragon from him. So
wasn't there a Scion ult that you dodged with Xayah ult? Was that this season?
Possibly. So that would have been like a Scion into us. That
Yeah.
I don't remember now. It wouldn't surprise me if I ulted, if it was actually Mike and I ulted to try to dodge it, not needing to. I would have to recall that, but because Xayah was picked by other players.
Okay.
Not a lot. Xayah kind of flew under the radar for a lot of Coach Rivals, but yeah, I do recall that. I think that was somebody else.
Justin, I gotta ask you, have you ever used like Flash or any other like skill to escape an incoming Scion ult from Coach Magros?
That's what makes me think that Zach really is talking about me, and
no, I don't think.
I think I may have
Did that
ulted. I think I may have, and getting all those things confused. But I have in my regular like solo queue games, I have flashed out of a Lux ult. From my own teammates' Lux, just because you get like so in the moment and you're hypey and things are up, anxiety's up. You're like, you got to win this team fight. You see Lux coming through and you just flash it, and then you try to play it off like, no, I'm just repositioning for a better angle. Edmund, you've done it. Surely you've done something like that.
I'm not an ADC main. I can't comment.
Oh, okay. No, this is how I just put my hands up. I don't play.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Peter approach to ADC now. I'm just gonna pull my Ethernet cable out of the back of my PC and pray for a triple kill.
Well, you gotta stop playing Ziggs then. You gotta play real ADCs.
Play Vayne? Oh, real AD.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. All right, our next bit of listener feedback as is loaded is from me. I didn't get to share mine. Okay, so my memorable play, the most memorable play for me from Coach Rival Season 2 was the Coach Dubs Flash Q instant triple kill while he was playing Darius. It was so good, and I was on your team, Zach, so you got to witness it firsthand. But I remember talking to Sons about it afterwards, and if I remember correctly, he apologized afterwards. He's like, "I'm sorry, I was feeling it. I was just trying to get in there and get some damage." Like, he apologized for the Flash Q triple. Like, brother, you need to own that. Like, you need to tell them, "No, I meant to do that. Kill secured. Thank you very much. Let's end the game."
We did not realize the gold mine we had in his Darius also, like, until this game. Until this game, he had primarily played Mordekaiser, Nasus, and Alawi in practices. And then he brings out the Darius, which we had not played with him on yet. And yeah, he goes absolutely crazy in that game. It was nuts. Absolutely nuts. Dude's a monster.
Evan, were you casting that one?
I think I could have been. I'm not sure. My memory's all fuzzy. But as a Darius player myself, oh my God, the absolute like dominance of having a flash Q triple kill. It's no, it's honestly like, yeah. So it's also equally mind blowing as to how he didn't own it because I think I know what play you're talking about, and that looked sick. Like that looked like Balls from C9, the old pro who used to play Darius. It looks like he was the one who was piloting the champ in that moment. So, Coach Dubs, mad props to you. And yeah, it's kind of a shame that Darius got nerfed to oblivion in the middle of the season. If not, I would have absolutely had the chance to cast a couple more Darius games.
Yeah. He actually had for our first game too with the Mordekaiser flank, the one you talked about earlier in the episode. He had some really memorable moments this year.
Yeah, so Coach Dub definitely one of those standout players for me. So I wanted to highlight him. I did actually had 3 different moments that I picked. For the sportsmanship moment for me is the very first live streamed Coach Rivals match for season 2. I think I'm 95% positive it was Zenburn on Victor into a Smooth Criminals Ahri, and Ahri disconnected right in the middle of a skirmish in the mid lane. Victor had dropped, or Zenburn had dropped the Chaos Storm on top of Ahri, and then we see that there was a disconnect and we saw a pause. And we're all just kind of watching the stream, and we're going back and forth in chat saying, what's he going to do? Is he going to kill him? Because, like, he's stuck in the middle of the Chaos Storm. I think the gravity field was down, and it was just like, it was a free kill just sitting for him. This is the first kill. This was first blood of Coach Rivals. And when we came back from game, a Smooth Criminal, Jeremy was back in the game, and Zenburn moved Chaos Storm away from Ahri and let Ahri walk away. That, to me, that really stood out to me. That was mad props to Zenburn. I think it was Zenburn. That was a really cool moment. It really showed what the league is all about, I feel like.
I think if I was in his spot, I would have killed the Ahri and then like died to turret. So that's like the homie stock in Smash, right?
So you get the kill, you get the gold, and then you go and try to trade it over to him. Okay.
Yeah. It's like an ARAM. Faster back.
I have a I have a behind the scenes moment that I really liked. I enjoyed compiling the data from Champ Selects, putting all that stuff together, like what champions were picked the most, banned the most, and stuff. I deal with not getting like super personal, but I deal with some like anxiety and stuff, and it normally like hits me when I'm not doing anything. And the summer is one of those things where if school's not in session and I'm not like busy, my mind kind of takes over, and it's a miserable place to be. So it gave me something to like really work on, and then to be able to post those week after week in the Discord and have people like kind of theorize about the conclusions, from it. Like, and Ronnie and I would talk about it. When is Nocturne, or when is Nautilus going to get his first win? Will Set finally lose a game? Because I feel like that Robbie had like, he was 3-0 on Set for a long time, and 100% win rate, and that was one of the things too that we'd throw out is, when is Set ever going to lose? Is Nocturne ever going to lose? Is Nautilus ever going to get a win? And that stuff was really cool. It kept me busy, kept my mind occupied, but then it was also something, a way to give back, and I think it's also something cool to illustrate to other coaches that they can do this with their programs too. So just all around, that was a fun thing for me that nobody, I mean, we didn't have to do it, but then I also got some people ask for the data too, so it shows that other people were interested in it as well. And I think it's something that we can continue, in future seasons. But I thought that was a neat experience just for me to take on.
Did Set ever lose?
Oh yeah. And the bad thing there was that it was in a match. It was Coach Stiff versus JGE. And JGE ended up getting a sub jungler. I think Eric29 subbed in, and he played Sejuani. Yeah. And so this is what was the tough call for me to make, and Robbie didn't like it, with good reason. But in the stats, Coach Diff won because JGE had to forfeit because they were playing with a sub.
Right.
But in the data, they actually lost because JGE did win the match. So Set lost, but in the standings, Set won. So it was like this contradiction. But yeah, unfortunately, that was Set's first loss, and it was not a popular one.
Talking about people who don't lose, when is Eric 29 ever going to lose?
Next season.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Season's crossed. I mean, fingers crossed.
Next season, can Eric 29 carry a bunch of unranked players to the championship? Season 3.
We're gonna give him a learning league team.
Oh, hell
And,
yes. And they will dominate.
yeah,
and it
they
will
will
be epic.
dominate. They will adapt the ways of too heavily.
No such thing.
no such thing. Oh man. So moving on, we're almost finished here. Coop out of Georgia, one of the infamous Cooper Van Rossum out of Georgia, who does so much putting into the CR leagues. He shared his moments. All the folks helping out with streaming on Thursdays and on off days on the lunch streams. We do have lunch streams. Zach was the infamous solo stream that turned out so well there. And of course, Edmund with the Thursday night cast. He says that he's still convinced we have the best casters in NA. Well, what's the
You're making me blush.
what's the consensus on that? Because all three of us have done it.
I need a lot of work. I'm a much better analyst than I am a play-by-play.
I need to stutter way less.
It's tough. And here's the thing. Like, when I listen to LCS and LEC are my two leagues that I watch a lot. And LEC, I notice, they fall into the problem of pushing a narrative over and over and over, and they say the same buzzwords. So they'll talk about the old. It was the old kings and the new kings of Europe and things of that nature. Now they've gotten to the habit of talking about that's the power of blank. Now we've done it, okay? We've done it. Edmund, you even said it on this podcast. You said that's the power of Ziggs, or that's the power of Akali. That's fine.
Shots fired at me.
No. You said it. No. You said it once. You said it once. In LEC, they say it every match about every champion. And I feel like I fall into that rut too whenever I do casting, is I find like these buzz phrases and buzzwords, and I use them a lot. So I don't feel like I stutter that much, but I fall back on what I know, and I think it gets repetitive. And so although I criticize them, I think I am a culprit of those same criticisms.
I think I need a thesaurus.
Oh man. All right. He also says, and of course, all the folks tuning in. So he appreciates our huge audience. And he said that GIF of Brad of BWIMS no scope ult sniping with Ashe in the Learning League. Zach, what is he talking about?
I actually have no idea. I need to go back into the records and look to see what he's talking about.
All right. Well, it must have been shared. So chat can help us out on that if they remember. Brad, no scope ulting, the Ashe ult. Maybe it must be deep in the highlights. Maybe we can grab and share that. I'll have to scroll back up and look. But yeah, so definitely some Learning League stuff there. Really, really cool. So thanks, Coop. Thanks for everything that you do for Coach Rivals. We really appreciate that. English teacher, Lucas, my nemesis in the bot lane out of Mississippi. He says, we may have gone 0-8, hashtag Immortals Never Die. But pretty crazy that the two games we were the closest to winning were against Team Tragedy. It may not have been fun, but it was definitely memorable. Also, I got a quadra kill in one. Always feels nice to show off. He did. He got the quadra kill on Misfortune, and that was in the match versus us. Immortals had our number this season, so we had some really crazy matches versus them. I'm giving them honorary honorable mention for Coach Rivals Season 2?
I didn't have to go too far. I found the clip. It's pretty close to the bottom of the channel. But yeah, he from the river, totally blind, hit somebody with an ashel at their tier 2 tower and killed them.
Wow.
It's pretty epic. The link is in the stream chat if you want to check it out. That's insane.
Oh man, awesome. So going back to so everybody definitely check out the link that's posted there. Going back to Lucas, our English teacher, talking about their matches versus Immortals. I think Immortals proved that this season, and this is probably going to be a hot take, and people are going to disagree with me, but I really do feel like there were moments this season that showed that any team could have beaten any other team.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't something like one team was running away with everything. And looking at the standings, there was never an issue of you see the standings and it's like, oh yeah, that team's going to win. They've got it in the bag. It was kind of like, well, who's going to take it? Like, it really could have gone either way. And we had matches in the season where teams were up 6,000 gold and then ended up losing. We actually had that multiple times throughout the season. So I don't think we had those moments where it was all given away. I see the 360 no scope. It's just like it was a really great season, and hats off to Immortals. I know they struggled. 0-8 is tough, and it's hard to continue playing your season each week without a win. But really good attitude there from English teacher, and that's really cool. And I'm sure he takes that to his volleyball players too, because he does coach volleyball as well as esports. So really cool stuff from him.
I feel like I could speak to that too, since I was on the winless team last season, and to be honest, it felt like there were a lot of games where we weren't even in the game. So I feel like this year, it was a lot more balanced, and for sure there were the parity was across the board. Really, really well done.
And our final listener submission, memorable moments is from Coach Magros. He is also out of Texas, by the way. We have a lot of Texas coaches here in Coach Rivals. So he gave us his top 5. So I think this is pretty cool. He said, Tragedy versus JGE. Nishama survives a failed tower dive to recall and stop a split push Hullbreaker Fiora from winning the game. He even put the timestamp in there for us at 29:25, so that was really cool. Tragedy versus Deathcap. Magros, he's putting himself as a highlight. Not but it was one
money of you.
It was one that we had mentioned earlier. He TP'd in for the 3-man ult in the queue with the beef train on Scion. Definitely a memorable moment there. He does mention the Rift happens at episode 9. Robbie's wonderful Microsoft Paint art reveal. Listen, I hyped it up, and here's the thing. When I posted it in the Coach Rivals Discord, I had a couple of people in there. I think it was Patty and Schmitty J were like, that was it? Because I censored it and made it seem like there was this super graphic thing, but I was afraid we were going to violate Twitch terms of service. I thought we would get banned or something for artistic nudity. I don't know. But yeah, apparently I overhyped it. But it was wonderful. It was beautiful. The random female champion with gun. He highlights the Immortals versus Deathcap game, the Sones pentakill with Ziggs. He went back and watched this. He said he lives with 100 health in mid lane, TP's back for Baron fight, zones perfectly to set the team for a massive AoE ending with his pentakill, all without having his ult because he used it to poke away the Ashe way before the engage. Awesome moment there. And then his number 1 memorable moment from CR Season 2 was Piper Maru's 2 amazing objective steals with the Lux laser. He said, talk about Finalis Funkeln, which was the old name of Lux's ult. Yeah, so the game 1 Dragonsteel and the game 2 Baronsteel. So those were his memorable moments there. Thank you, Coach Magros. Do you agree? Do we concur with those?
Yeah, that's a great top 5.
Yeah. The most memorable moment for me is when Coach Magros actually put in the timestamps and the game so we don't have to look for them. Thank you so much.
In case we could forget those moments, right? He does come through clutch. So the hard engage master, Coach Magros, still coming through, always a team player and a team player again in his submissions, giving us the timestamp. So yeah, good call out there. So guys, that's it. We're wrapping up here. It's 7:23. TFT starts in like 5 minutes. I do want to thank both of you for being here with me. Unfortunately, the stars just couldn't align to get my trophy co-host in. But fellas, I'm gonna say I feel like you did a great job. And although I do miss Ronnie, I think we had some great subs tonight, and I'm sure chat would agree. They're speechless. Okay, that was your moment. That was my pitch to you. Sorry.
I was letting Edmund go first, but yeah, thanks for having us. This was super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can, I'll be on any more Rift Happens streams whenever you ask for me. And I think we should have like a YouTube video with Coach Magros' top 5 because I think those are really good highlights.
You want me to put Robbie's drawing out there on YouTube?
Yeah, with the censor.
With the censor?
And put like the big monetized symbol over his picture. So like we all know what's up.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. You guys will definitely be back. I do have a list of guest hosts that do want to come on to Rift Happens. So you two are on my list. If anybody else out there in Twitch land or in the Discord, you want to be some guests on Coach Rivals or on Rift Happens rather, and you feel like you would bring some valuable input as we move forward, please reach out to me. Let me know. There may be times where I'm just the producer and I just let y'all talk it out and run away with it, and I'm just going to be in the background in your ears and not seen. But obviously, as we move forward, we're going to be talking about patch notes. We'll also be talking about other things in the game as far as what's happening with our esports programs in Coach Rivals, maybe being in some guest hosts to talk about their programs. What are you doing with your high school programs? We'll also be having more listener feedback sections as well. So a lot more Rift Happens to come, even though the Coach Rival season is over. So be sure to stay with us and tune in. Catch us on Twitch as we go live. And if you can't catch us live, you'll catch us on your favorite podcast provider. So for Zach, for Edmund, and for me, that is it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to episode 10. We will see you next time.